Hey crafters, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to make a special Christmas card, a never-ending card, and I'm going to use lots of Lawn Fawn stamps. So to start with, on the base, you'll need a piece of paper that's 6 by 3 inches, and fold this in half lengthwise, and fold each edge into the middle line. Make sure that you score these folds so that they're nice and marked, and you'll get sort of this M or C-shaped piece of paper. And then just repeat this 3 more times so you have 4 pieces of paper that are exactly the same. Now there's lots of different designs for never-ending cards, sometimes called infinity cards, but I changed the measurement slightly and I'm showing you what works best for me. So you're going to take 2 of the pieces of paper and just line them up so that they're horizontal, and then add some adhesive to each corner. So I'm using double-sided adhesive for this. You could use glue if you prefer, but you'll just need to wait a few moments for the glue to dry. So after I've finished applying this, I'm going to remove the backing paper. And then to make sure these 2 pieces stay nice and horizontal, I'm going to use a little bit of post-it tape on the back or low-tack tape to keep them still. Then I'm going to apply the other 2 pieces on top vertically. Once they're lined up, I can remove the post-it tape. So now I'm going to use my scoring tool, and I'm going to score on all my new folds. And I'm going to continue to do this until my card moves nicely. Now the trick to this is to be precise with your scoring, your measuring, and your folding. And just to keep folding and scoring this card until it flows nicely. And once you're happy with that, you can start decorating your card. So I'm going to start with some large squares. Now each of these squares is 2 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And I'm using some holographic paper that I had in my stash, as well as some paper from Lawn Fawn. So the striped paper is from the Really Rainbow paper pad, and the red and blue, the scalloped paper, is the Really Rainbow scalloped paper from Lawn Fawn. One of the great things about making this kind of card is it gives you the chance to use up some paper that you might have in your stash, especially smaller pieces. So we're going to need 12 large rectangles. These are 1 1/4 by 2 3/4 inches. And I'm using wet glue or PVA glue to adhere all my shapes, but you could of course use a double-sided tape if you prefer. Another great thing about the never-ending card is that you can decide what the front of the card is. So the front of my card will be the part with the 2 holographic squares that I glued at the beginning, and it sort of opens like a door. But you could choose this for the start of your card or any of the other sides. Now on this side of the card, you'll notice that the rectangles go in the middle, which means that we'll need some smaller rectangles in the corner pieces. Altogether, you'll need 8 of these. 4 of them I cut with the red scalloped paper, and 4 of them I cut with the holographic paper, which will go on another side. And these smaller rectangles are 1 1/2 inches by 1 1/4 inches. So I'm just going to finish putting the larger rectangles on here, and then I can add my smaller holographic rectangles to the corner pieces. Now once you finish putting all of your squares and rectangles on your never-ending card, you can decide which pieces you leave as is and which you add stamped images to. So most of my larger rectangles I left as is, except for one or two, but you'll see that at the end of the video when I show the finished card. So now I'm just going to add my last bit of card, and that is this beautiful red paper. It's also from the Really Rainbow Lawn Fawn set. I'm going to add in those rectangles. I just love that paper. So once that's finished, I'm going to test that my card still moves and set it aside to dry. So now I'm going to start stamping some images. The main stamps that I'm using is the Lawn Fawn Frosty Fairy Friends. And I'm going to stamp these images on 2.5-inch squares. I'm going to use a variety of the images. Now I'm going to use 2 of these squares for the sentiment, and the rest of them will have various images of fairies and the fairy house and the frosty fairy plant as well. Now I'm also going to use a few stamps from the Lawn Fawn Say What Christmas Critters. You'll see them in a little bit. Those will be the sentiments on the outside of the card. This main sentiment here is actually still part of the Frosty Fairy Friends stamp set. You'll see all the images I stamped near the end of the video. So I'm just going to add some snowflakes to this, and then I can start coloring in my squares. Now I used Copic coloring for this, and I just sped through the coloring, so I didn't make this video too long. But the one thing I wanted to show you is how I did the background around the fairies. So after I've finished coloring them, I'm going to use a really light color. This one is BG11, and I'm going to go around the fairies. This will take more than one layer of ink if you're using Copics. And then I'm going to use these Nouveau drops on the wings. Lastly, I'm going to use a white jelly pen to add some detail to the fairies' outfits, as well as some snow on the background. And as this is a pigment ink, I'll set it aside until it's completely dry. So here are my completed panels. These ones are all 2.5-inch squares. So I have a variety of fairy images. I love those Nouveau drops that just add that shine. And also my 2 sentiments. And all of the snowflakes have those Nouveau drops on them. Now here are my smaller sentiments. These are the ones that come from that second Lawn Fawn set. Now these rectangles are all 1 by 2.5 inches. You can make up to 12 of these, but I only made 4. So for my smaller rectangle, I made 8 of them. They're 1 inch by 1.25 inch. And I have 4 with one design and 4 with another. So now I can start adding them to my card. So I'm going to use some PVA or white glue to adhere these to my card base. You could use double-sided tape if you prefer, but as there are a lot of squares, this might be a faster route. So as you'll notice, I don't cover all of my large rectangles, which is why I only did 4 instead of 12. But you could cover all yours if you prefer. Now I did cover all of my small rectangles and all of my squares. Now once I've adhered them all, I'm going to add some finishing touches onto my card. And for this, I decided that I'd like to use some sequins. So these sequins are from My Favorite Things. And although it's not really a Christmas color, I thought it brightened up the card and it looked really nice. Just wait until you see the sequins on that beautiful red striped card. It's just gorgeous. So once all the sequins are dry, I'm just going to do a final fold of my card and make sure that it's moving smoothly before I mail it to my lucky recipient. Now, another bonus with this card is it can stand up on a mantle too. I hope you enjoyed this never-ending card. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Have a crafty day!